Welcome to The Hop. This is David Charles Allen, realtor at Village Properties in Santa Barbara with my co-host and good friend, Patty Teal. How you doing today, Patty?
I'm great, David. I hear there's a big swell in Santa Barbara.
There is. We have beautiful weather. We had a little bit of a storm over the holidays, but we have beautiful weather now, and there is swell coming in, and there's definitely some fun waves to be had out there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's probably been one of the most consistent winters we've had in a couple of years, where we're actually getting some decent swell consistently. So that's a really positive aspect in that.
Good. What's going on with the real estate market?
So, I mean, we can jump into interest rates right now. They're at, again, all-time lows for the time being, down to 2.625 for a conforming 30-year fixed and 2.875 for a 30-year jumbo. So interest rates are still really low, still driving the market right now. And yeah, it's been really good.
So as we move into the new year, still a great time to buy a house. How would people contact you if they're interested in doing that, David?
They can contact me 805-617-9311 or by email, david@davidcharlesallen. And over these last 2 weeks, we haven't seen too much activity. Usually it's the slowest time of the year. People really aren't selling their houses during this time, but we have had a lot of activity in the buying side. I think we've only had about 5 to 10 houses that came on the market during the last 2 weeks. And then we probably had 20 to 30 houses that went pending. So that just means our supply is getting even smaller. After the new year, we should see an uptick in homes coming to the market, which we have. It has not been that much though. We've only had about 10 new homes come to the market since the new year. And there's still a really lot of buyers out there and they're coming from everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's difficult for being a buyer right now and being local. You have a lot of competition. Prices are going crazy, so to say. As a seller, it's amazing time to be a seller. You're gonna have a lot of competition. Basically set your own price and set your own terms, and it's going to be a little more simpler for any seller out there looking to sell their house. But on the buyer side, it's going to take a lot more work, a little more effort, maybe do a little more searching off market, having connections to some people that may be selling a house that isn't coming to market either. It's going to be an interesting time for buyers, but there's always hope out there for everyone that they're going to find the right situation that's perfect for them. And the time's going to be right when the time's right. So don't take it too hard on yourself. And
Divine timing. Yes.
Like divine timing. Keep it beautiful.
Yep. Those are great tips, David. Thank you.
Today we have a great guest that I'm really, really excited about, a local artist and spiritual guide, Carissa Luminess. How are you doing today, Carissa?
I'm just fantastic. It's so good to be here with you guys.
It's great to have you.
So good to be here with you as well. I talked with you a little bit before the show, and I feel like we could have had a really long conversation, but I wanted to save it for what we're talking about now. So I kind of want to start off at, how did you end up moving to Santa Barbara, so to say?
Well, I actually was led here by a dream. I had been living in Eugene, Oregon. I had been there for 20 years and had raised my 2 children there and had been divorced for 5 years. And I took a trip, it was actually around this time of year, I took a trip over to the coast with my son as a Christmas present to take him surfing with his buddy. And we were sleeping in this place right on the beach in Florence. And it felt like it was the spirit of the ocean coming through into my room. And the dream was very simple. It was just simply a voice that said, "Go to Santa Barbara. Your new life is waiting for you there."
Oh my God.
And it was so strong and so direct. It was like an order. It was like an order being given to me by spirit that I couldn't ignore. So I thought I had never been here before. It turns out I had when I was a baby. And it turns out, I found out a few years after I moved here that my grandparents actually lived here in the 20s and 30s, I think. My grandfather was a doctor. He had an office right next to my bank. I found their house, which is right up at the end of Mitchell Terena, and they went to this church downtown that I attended a few times. But my mother was actually conceived here.
Wow.
And I had no idea of any of that. And anyway, 2 weeks after the dream, I drove down here with my son to check it out. And as soon as I pulled into town on 101, I just got this incredible body hit that, yes, this is where I need to be. And I hadn't been planning on, looking for a place to live. It was just kind of a scouting out trip. But I decided to go ahead and look to see if I could possibly even afford a rental here, because I knew it was expensive. So I took Stu surfing at Rincon, and I got the Sunday paper, and I circled a few rentals to look at. And the next day I went to look at a cute little duplex over on the east side, and it was just perfect for me. And then I kind of got a 2-in-1 package deal, because when I went to look at the rental, I called the number on the sign and said, I'm here in front of your place. I want it. And I was smelling a jasmine flower, and the landlord pulled up, and he got out of his truck to walk toward me. And I had that same body knowing that, oh, this is my man.
Oh my goodness, this is an amazing story.
It was amazing. It was just amazing. Like, the dream was not lying. Like, my new life was just totally here waiting for me. So I moved down, rented the place, moved down 2 weeks later with my son. My daughter decided to stay behind. She wasn't ready to leave Eugene, but her dad was still there. So that was fine. And so I moved down here. And then the whole art community just totally opened up for me. I just launched a whole new phase of my career as an artist. And then later that led to kind of combining spiritual growth with art, doing workshops. And then that led to teaching art at City College for older adults, which is my current work that I mostly do. I teach 5 classes a week. So that keeps me pretty busy. But I weave a lot of spirituality with the art making process. So yeah, that's long story to your answer, but that's how I ended up in Santa Cruz.
What a beautiful and amazing story. Have you always been guided by dreams like that?
Yeah. The dreams have been my basic connection to source or spirit or God. It's how I receive my guidance mostly. And it's also how I do most of my emotional processing and just like personal growth work is in my dream time.
That's really beautiful. It seems like you're really connected to what's around you and yourself included. And I know 2020 has been a wild year for a lot of people. And we were kind of talking about this before. How do you kind of see yourself and how you evolved in 2020 with everything else going on around you?
Yeah, I think I haven't really had to make a whole lot of changes because my life is already pretty simple and pared down to the basics. But what I've witnessed, and actually there was more paring down to do, it turns out. I definitely got down to some really core issues. But what I see 2020 as is a, urgent, desperate wake-up call from nature, from the earth, from the universe, that we are way out of balance and that our structures, our cultural, societal, economic, political structures are in need of complete dismantling, complete dissolution. And it's been a way to kind of bring us back to ground zero, both personally and collectively, as a way to kind of get real about our humanity, about what's happening on the earth, and just who we've become. And what I think is that we've been so caught up in this disillusionment of chasing this carrot stick of capitalism and patriarchal one-up status seeking security, that people have really become so cut off from their own souls and their authentic essences. And we've been kind of forced to let go of all the distractions and all those strivings to confront what's on the inside. And some of it's been really hard and really painful, but I think it's necessary to kind of to go inward and take a look at what's driving us and those fears behind this need for outer approval and affirmation. And my students, they've just been really thriving. Actually, they are in their happy place right now with these art classes, because finally they can let go of all that outer doing and busy striving and outward seeking motivation, and just drop into their well of creative energy. And they're finding all these jewels and treasures and wonderful, juicy, meaningful, playful openings in themselves. And there's a life force coming through from this new way of being.
That's beautiful. I feel like you have a lot of intuitive emotion on co-creation as well as abundance, and really creating your own life and self from your mentality and everything you put into yourself and intuitively. And it's really beautiful to see that. And how do you kind of see it transferring over to people you might know, and how do you kind of help them, so to say, or someone that's maybe not at your point yet? What do you like to kind of do? Guide by influence from being yourself, or do you kind of try and push them a certain way?
Well, I don't really try, to really do anything. I think what I just try to do myself is to stay and open a channel as I can to allow source energy to flow through me as it wants to be expressed that way. I think that the more I can just be my authentic self and be open, and that includes, being vulnerable. I mean, it includes sharing emotional challenges and difficulties. But I think the main thing that I've had to work with my students, the most difficult, challenging aspect, I think, to dropping into this more soul-centered, inside-out living is the superego, or the inner critic that is so ingrained in us, of all our shoulds, our kind of good person behavior and ethics that have been so drilled into us, that people have kind of lost the ability to trust their own instincts. And so with the art making, I'm continually, I tell them the inner critic is not allowed in the space, that I encourage them to stay open and curious about their process, instead of thinking about the product and about making something good that is going to be liked,
I love that. The inner critic is not allowed in here.
Yeah, they love
Outside the
that. They
classroom.
love that. They feel so free when I tell them that. I say,
get out.
they can wait outside the room. They can sit on the bench. You can collect them on your way out, but they're not allowed in this space. And they love that. It gives them permission to be more childlike again and more playful.
Yeah, in the arts, whether it's singing or it's doing art, so many people at some point in their life decided they weren't good at this.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, unfortunately, they had some bad experiences with the adult figures in their lives, judging them, or, So yeah, it's just learning to follow your own. They're learning to trust their own impulses with the art making process, to take risks and try new things that go outside of the box. And when they do that, And they see that it actually is a good thing, that it opens up to beautiful discoveries and beautiful passages and wonderful, surprises, then they can translate that into their lives. They can take that attitude and they can take more risks in their lives. They can break outside of the box of what they would normally maybe say to somebody, and they can be more direct, or they can take a risk and try a new activity, or try a new dance move, or try eating a new food, or whatever. It's helping them basically to trust themselves again. And I think that is so key for humanity right now, because I really do think it all comes back to our survival as babies and young children. For me, I know that I learned very early on that if I was going to survive, I had to be who my parents wanted me to be.
Mm.
My needs, my emotions didn't count. It was all about keeping them from going off. And I know times have changed. I was born in 1958. And I know, like, I have a 31-year-old daughter with a 2-year-old son now, and I watch her mothering him, and he is seen, and he can be himself, and he can express himself, and his needs matter. And I think this new generation coming in is going to be more evolved. I know David's generation is more evolved. I see this as all part of the evolutionary growth, but I'm working with older adults. I'm working with people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who don't have as much experience with authentic self-expression. And so it's just a real joy and privilege to be helping them kind of rediscover this more free part of themselves through art.
It's so true. I think, yeah, that older generation, you kind of see it. It was distilled in them from their parents as well. So
yes,
it kind of just goes. It's a continuous cycle, and it kind of seems like the day you're born, we're kind of programmed to do certain things and act a certain way, and it takes almost a lifetime to kind of find yourself, like you're saying, and really focus on you and what you can control, and really getting in tune with your presence on this planet. And that's, I think, one of the most beautiful things that have come out of 2020 is really awakened a lot of people in that regard to focus on what matters and really focusing on them and not worrying about what else can happen or the survival aspect of life, and really just doing their best interest to get in tune with themselves and find something that's greater than them, that's bigger than them, that's bigger than all of us. So I love how this has kind of been your life teaching, and it's beautiful to be able to hear that from you as well.
yeah, absolutely. A part of this pandemic, I mean, we're literally facing death. We're literally, I mean, I went through a whole facing my possible death. And I think it's only when we do face death that we can truly begin to live. And people who I know have lost loved ones to COVID. And it does make you reevaluate the meaning of your life. It does make you see your life through a different lens. And it does force you to kind of prioritize what really matters and what's really important. And so I am really, really, really excited about this new opening that's, I mean, we're still kind of, the darkest hour is just before the dawn, right? And we're still kind of, and I think we're just now starting to enter the darkest hour, actually, with this whole COVID pandemic. But I'm really excited about the dawn that's on the other side. And I think it's just so beautiful. And it's necessary to embrace the darkness. It's necessary to go down into the underworld and do that descent before we can rise back up to the light again. And that's where we find the hidden treasures. So I think that that's the process that we're in the middle of right now.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is beautifully said. Are your classes held in person, Carissa, or are you having to do them online?
Oh, we're doing them all online. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I mean,
And
this is a high risk group that I'm.
Right. And can more people join, or are they booked up?
They're pretty booked up. My classes are really popular. There's definitely a hunger for this type of teaching. I have 5 classes. I think they're all full, except for my abstract painting class, I think still has a couple of openings.
And how would people register for them?
If you go to the sbcc.edu website, which is Santa Barbara City College, and you find the School of Extended Learning, well, they're basically free classes. I forgot what they're called, but basically the free classes for older adults in the creative arts. And that's where the schedule is, and you can register through the.
And again, we're speaking to Carissa Luminess. So you want to take her class because it sounds like you have a lot to offer your students.
Well, it's also very practical and hands-on. I mean, I teach really basic things like how to mix, use all your primary colors to mix your secondary colors, and how to mix up a natural green for the leaf, and how to draw a flower. And
wow, it sounds so fun.
Yeah, and then I have an art journaling class, which is really great. We're going to be working with fairy tales this semester. And then I have a collage mixed media class. I'm actually making a couple of dolls that I'm going to be having them make some dolls for the project. So we do all kinds of projects, like from just totally self abstract expressionism to botanical art, to plein air landscape, to collage mixed media of a loved one. I mean, there's so many different. It's really fun. I love coming up with.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing you can say to help, maybe someone's looking for a little bit more growth in their own life and how to get more in tune with themselves, is there one recommendation you could give that one small thing someone could do to really help with that progress?
Yeah, I always like to start with the body and ground down into the body and try to connect with the earth. I think the more that we can just, sit and feel all our consciousness drop down into our lower body, into our root chakra, and open up that root chakra and feel it penetrate down to the center of the earth, and just breathe in the earth and let her wisdom and her nurturance and her support and her perpetual love and creative kundalini life force enter into your body.
That's beautiful. I couldn't say better than myself right there.
That was it was such a delight to talk to you, Carissa. I hope I get to meet you one day in person when I'm back in Santa Barbara.
Definitely. Yeah. So nice to see you two beautiful souls. And I feel so honored that you invited me to chat about this very meaningful topic to me. So thank you for letting me kind of share some of my thoughts.
Thank you so very much.
Look forward to having you on again.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful life.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I look forward to seeing you next week, Patty.
Okay, you too, David. Bye-bye now.
Oh, bye.